Welcome to Breakthrough. Thank you for joining us. Be sure to click the subscribe button followed by the bell icon so you don't miss any future videos.
The first word I have for you this morning is God. And God is with a capital G, okay? I'm not talking about a little g God, because there are a lot of little g gods in the world, and a lot of times we find ourselves worshiping the wrong God, if we're really honest. But I want to show you something, though, about God, big G God. And I really like the very first part of that verse, 18. It says, all things are of God. And it has that little comma there. It means I got to pause. But it says all things. That means the things I like. Come on, that's ice cream, you know. The other day I was sitting in the dentist chair, and because my I don't know, when you get older, your teeth do weird things. And my tooth went like this, and it snapped off a little part of the corner of it. And so the dentist goes, "Oh, I can fix that." And I go, "Okay, good." And so he gives me the shot in my chin, and actually, you know, it's still numb right here in this one little spot on my chin. I mean, it's not so bad now that the drooling has stopped, but but it's still a little bit numb. But what he did is he kind of like sawed the tooth down, you know, and the tooth been crooked, but he made it look straight. And then he put some filling in there because the enamel had broke off of it or something, and it was turning brown on the front side and the back side. It wasn't just the front side; it was both sides. And so he didn't straighten the tooth, but it looked straight in my mouth because, you know, I have to have perfect teeth to stand in front of you. And every time I get in the chair, you know, because the reason I bring that up is sometimes pain, okay? Because you got to go through some pain sometimes to have a good thing happen, right, in the end. And sometimes we're not really willing, all right, to submit ourselves to the dentist, okay? But if I don't submit myself to the dentist, guess what would happen? My tooth would turn all the way brown. Pretty soon it would be gone, and then drool really would come out of my mouth. But but I'm going to tell you this little line, all things are of God, is so powerful if I would really just listen to that. If I would just listen. Sometimes I think, it's crazy, but I think about if I could write on my mirror in my bathroom every day, okay, a new revelation, because God wants to talk to me every day about something, and so I've really been thinking about that. All things are of God. All things are of God, and I thought about some of the relationships that I've been in. You know, and I'm not talking about, you know, I've only had one girlfriend my whole life, and her name is JoAnn, and I married her, and that's the only girlfriend I ever had. So you don't ever have to worry about some other girl coming up and saying, "Hey, you remember me?" Because there's nobody else, okay? And I don't have to worry about that because it's just the choice that I made early on in life. And JoAnn doesn't necessarily always like that she's the only one, but I think she really does love that, okay? Because she never has to worry. And so all things are of God, and it's really powerful if we think about this, because I guess I have to ask you a question. All right, is God angry with you? Let me ask you a question. Is he angry with you? I just want you to answer the question. That's a yes or no question. It's not even a trick question. Because if you would think about that for a second, and the answer, if you were bold enough to answer it, all right, it would change your perspective a little bit about who God is, right? Because if I believe that he's angry, right, I would be wanting to work something, right, and do something to make him not angry. Wouldn't you? Wouldn't that be a natural thing, natural response? Is God angry with me? That's a question, all right? Is God angry with me? And so I thought about something. What can make God angry? And I thought about something. I said, well, I don't know. Maybe if you created man and woman and put them in a garden and gave them this perfect environment, and if we went back to Genesis, is what I'm saying, in the 3rd chapter, and we went and looked, and we said, what would happen if who God created didn't do what he said? Wouldn't that make you angry? I mean, if JoAnn doesn't do what I say every single time, does it make me angry? See? And see, we relate God's anger with how we feel all too often. And I think what happens is our perspective about what God is and who he is, it changes because of the way we feel, okay? So I want to look at that for just a second. I don't have enough time because I already used a lot of time, but I just want to really skim through it a little bit. And I want to look at something, okay? Genesis 3, 9 and 10, it says, and the Lord called unto Adam, and he said, where art thou? God said, where are you, Adam? And he said, Adam said to God, I heard your voice in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked and I hid myself. And the three things that Adam said are very, 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 very insightful if we really want to think about it. He said, I was afraid, I was naked, right? And I hid, right? I hid myself. And those three things, because Adam was busted, really. That's what happened. Adam got busted because he didn't do what God said. God said, don't eat from the tree. And he actually didn't start the whole process of the food that was picked on the tree and all that. He didn't start the process because the serpent talked to the woman, and the woman ate and then gave to the man. But Adam was there the whole time. If you really look at it, Adam was there. So there was this process. But often in life, I think it's so true that we find ourselves afraid. One of the greatest things we have in our life is fear. I'm going to tell you, one of the greatest enemies of our Christian walk is fear, because we always think the worst about everything. I don't know, maybe I'm just me, but I always think the worst about every single thing that's going to go on. It's like, this person said this, all that means they're mad. All that means that this, and all this, that. And then I go, I want to go do this job tomorrow, but I don't know if I can do the job because, I don't know if I know what I'm doing, and this goes on and that goes on, but Adam was afraid, naked, he was exposed. Because see, that's what God is so powerful. He knows every single thing all the time. And so we often, when we go to God and we go, okay, God, and he already knows everything. He knows, he's a know-it-all. God knows everything. And so we try to hide, but we can't hide. But we're naked, but we can't clothe ourselves. We can't get covered because he's always there. And we're afraid because we don't know what God is going to do. And he was naked. And he knew, just like we know sometimes, that we do something wrong and then we don't have cover, right? We're not covered. That's what happens. We're not covered. And so, is God angry? Is God angry? Is God angry? Did you know, often anger, at least in my life, my experience with anger, I'm only very young. I'm just over 50 years old. So I'm not as smart as some people, but whenever you look at anger, you know what anger is? It's an excuse for whoever feels angry to blame somebody else. Do you ever notice that? It's like, I'm going to blame them for all that went on in this situation because it's all their fault. That's what we want to do. We want to blame. So we put the blame on someone else so that we don't have to release it. Our anger often looks like word missiles. That's what it does. When you get angry, you start shooting missiles, word missiles, and you fire them from your mouth, and you fire them to destroy, because that's what you really want to do, because we just flat out don't care. That's what it is. We feel justified. See, this is what anger does. Anger makes you feel justified rather than be reconciled. See, we want justification because they did something to me. I'm justified in doing this, right? Rather than being reconciled. Because if I reconcile, I have to release my anger, right? Because that's what it is. I reconcile to release anger.